Welcome to the SVG-TV news for Thursday, November 30th. With the details tonight, I'm Khalil Cato. 350 trainees from cohorts 5, 6, and 7 of the Youth and Adult Training for Employment Yate program graduated today. The program is a collaboration between the Ministry of Education and National Reconciliation and the Ministry of Finance. Speaking at the graduation ceremony at the Methodist Church Hall, the Yate project coordinator, Maureen Weber, said the graduates were trained over a 4-year period in several different areas, including cake baking, bar services, aquaponics, crop production, commercial food preparation, cosmetology, and more.
The program expanded to all kinds of areas that we didn't have before: horticulture, auto mechanics, all those kind of things, always responding to what you wanted and what we wanted you to do. And that's the most important thing. As you move forward, focus on what you want to do it well, and listen to your own heart. How many of you did well? Gosh, 70% of you got 5 units or more. That's awesome. Alright? 15% of you have full certification. Some of you are already working. I spoke to a young lady over there in bartending. She's working at Beachcomber and loving it. I spoke to somebody with the electrical installation. He's currently on assignment and he's enjoying it. A lot of you have started to get permanent job opportunities. As you move forward, I think it's important for you to appreciate that this is the door that has opened for you. You have to push through and do what you need to get it done. So if you want to go back to further studies, keep that in your mind, keep that focus on there. We have women in plumbing, women in electrical installation, we have men in cake baking and garment production. So I just love the fact that we've been outside of our comfort zones.
The Yate program is a component of the Human Development Service Delivery HDSD project, which is funded by a loan from the World Bank. Also speaking at today's graduation, Senior Social Protection Specialist and co-task team leader in the World Bank, Nancy Randalis, commended the graduates for their success amidst the challenges faced over the past years.
And have exceeded expected results. Despite that, the implementation took place amidst a COVID-19 pandemic and a volcanic eruption. Talks well about your capacity to overcome challenges and show how resilient you are. Congratulations to all graduates for your great achievements. We are immensely appreciative and grateful for the opportunity to have worked with you and to learn from you to help other countries design and implement productive programs. This agenda, I think, remains relevant to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to enhance the TVET system. As the Minister mentioned, they continue to invest in the TVET Institute.
Randalis said that the Yate program has successfully accomplished its objectives over the years, and the World Bank is happy to be a partner.
And we found that when the trainees entered the program, 7 of you were motivated to enter to get these certifications, okay? So showing that you value the acquisitions of skills, but also the pride and satisfaction that this brings to your personal level, helping transform your lives. High youth unemployment and lower participation of females in the labor market is not a unique situation to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Youth and women employment are one of the key challenges of development, one of the key priorities of the World Bank, and is central to our human capital development agenda. Quoting our president, we must be a hand on the back, moving people forward. In recent years, we have implemented about 90 similar programs around the globe, including Latin America and the Caribbean, and the positive story of St. Vincent and the Grenadines adds to this wealth of experience. Now,
also addressing the graduation ceremony today was Minister of Education Curtis King, who said education is not only about academics or skills, but it is an integration of both. Hence, the government and education stakeholders are working on integrating both in SVG's education system. Minister King noted that to bring about the development needed in the country, the education system must be aligned to the developmental needs.
We have to adjust our system where education integrates both, so that our graduates, when they enter the wall of war, it becomes easier for them to make that transition to the wall of war. I'm getting to the end, but I need to give a couple more. Our next recommendation was that we provide education and training systems with instruments or actions that allow them to adapt quickly to changing contexts. You don't have to say more of that. We live in a world that is constantly changing. And if our education is to remain meaningful and relevant, then our education must be flexible and responsive to what is happening in the wider community. And finally, we need to direct education and training towards the development of skills and adopt a proactive approach in their upgrading and improvement. All of these are recommendations that are relevant to what we are seeking to do here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
While congratulating the graduates for successfully completing the training, Minister King thanked them for making the choice of participating in the program.
That choice of putting yourself in a better position to gain employment. Had I time, I would have quoted what we found in that meeting we had. But just to say, it is a proven case that where you have skills, you're going to find it easier to gain employment. So I want to thank you for making that choice. And I also want to thank all the organizers, especially the department responsible for putting together the program in the economics, the Ministry of Finance and Planning, and in particular the economic division. I also want to thank all the facilitators, the business places, and all the others who have provided support to ensure that you are here. Graduates, you have made a good choice. You have made the sacrifice. You have worked hard. And the fact that you are at this stage is an indication of your commitment. I want to say to you, now that you are at this point, the road ahead is filled with opportunities. You have to exploit these opportunities.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in its capacity as pro tempore president of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, Celac, earlier today hosted the 45th meeting of national coordinators of Celac at the University of the West Indies Global Campus in Kingstown. Some 26 delegates, drawn from the 33 Celac member countries, participated in today's meeting, chaired by National Coordinator of the Celac Secretariat, Dr. Douglas Slater. In welcoming the delegates to SVG, Dr. Slater noted that when the country assumed the chairmanship of Celac, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves had expressed the wish to do so in a collaborative and collegiate manner, with as many member countries as possible working along with SVG to carry out the work of Celac, and thanked the member states, including Argentina, for their partnership in making the transition a smooth one.
Because we have gone through a year with some challenges, and that is normal, but you have helped us to overcome them. We recall especially the negotiations for the EU Celac Summit. And I see some familiar faces who have been with us in the battlefield, especially in the last run in Brussels. Another issue, I want to express gratitude to Mexico for helping us with driving and promoting one of our initiatives, the FACRID. That is the special fund to address climate change and disaster. And I want to take a little moment on that, because as we speak, we are in the process of seeing the benefit of this fund. In fact, just over the past few days, the the steering committee has approved, well, thus far we have approved disbursements to 2 member states, one being Honduras, and just recently, to address some challenges in Mexico, we have done an approval. So Mexico, thank you very much for assisting in driving this process.
Noting that during SVG's tenure as pro tempore president of Celac, there has been some changes in administrations politically. Dr. Douglas said while this is normal, it is the hope that the successive administrations will continue in the spirit of unity and cooperation for the region's development.
And we have no reason to believe that that won't be so. So we expect active engagements of the representatives of our member states to continue smoothly. I think it is important that we express concerns about certain disasters that some of our member states may have confronted during the past few months. I speak of, we just mentioned about FACRID and how important that was, but I speak of forest fires in countries like Chile. We have had earthquakes and floods in Ecuador, Paraguay, Argentina with some landslides, Dominican Republic with floods, Haiti with some storms and other things, including the very challenging nature there of the political situation. Panama has had some disasters too. And all this I intentionally mention because we want to demonstrate the process of unity and support among each other. And that's why, again, I want to raise FACRID, how important FACRID may come in these conditions.
Dr. Slater further pointed out that the main focus of today's meeting will be on the development of the Celac Declaration of Kingstown to be presented to the heads of states and governments at the Celac Summit to be held here in SVG from March 1st, 2024.
You will notice that in the draft declaration that we submitted, it was fairly concise. It is our intention to continue along that line, to be as precise as possible without excluding any significant articles. We know that in an organization as wide as this, there will be many interests. We want to ensure that we focus on those that really are top priority. But we will engage with member states and we will discuss how we move forward with that. The next thing I want to remind you of is that we may have to continue with some virtual meetings because we don't expect to have a completely perfect or finished product today. And therefore, the declaration will be open for further refinement. And as you know, the process is after we here, the national coordinators, have produced a second level draft, we will have to refine that and submit it to our ministers of foreign affairs. Now, so therefore, after we have done some work between now and over the several weeks, we will submit at the meeting of Ministers of Foreign Affairs. I wish to say at this moment that we are yet to determine the format of that meeting, the venue and the date. But you will be advised accordingly as soon as that is determined. It is a dynamic process and we have some negotiations ongoing to determine those dates. Then we mention on the summit, because when our ministers receive our work, they will have to review and may have further refinements, which after which will be the document, the final document, will be submitted to our heads at the summit.
Dr. Slater also used the opportunity to encourage member states of Celac to actively support the various initiatives of the Celac work plan. Also addressing the opening ceremony of today's meeting was Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Sandy Peters-Phillips, who told the delegates that as a regional body, Celac holds a very special place in SVG's foreign policy agenda.
It creates a space for dialogue among equal but differentiated partners, with the aim of deepening political, economic, social, and cultural integration and strengthening the ties of solidarity and cooperation among Latin America and the Caribbean countries. If ever there was a need for deeper regional unity, it is now. The unprecedented global challenges and the complex day-to-day issues of the international political economy demand that Celac be positioned to be the regional voice and advocate at the international level on common issues which affects us all in this part of the world, and the issues are well known: climate change, pandemics, regional conflicts, hunger eradication, sustainable development, and so on. Today, I welcome you to begin discussions on our declaration of the 8th Summit of the Heads of States and the Governments of Celac, to be convened on March 1st, 2024. I expect the deliberations to generate robust discussions, but in a spirit of compromise and consensus. This will be our document. Hence, I'm confident at the end of today, we will have advanced purposefully on the declaration and will be able to present to our foreign ministers whenever they meet a document which captures the essence of our joint discussion.
Styles left the state yesterday afternoon to attend the United Nations Conference on Climate Change, COP28, in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. COP28, which begins tomorrow, is expected to bring together world leaders, including heads of state and government, senior national officials, industrial and agricultural leaders, academics, experts, young people, NGOs and civil society, to the defining issue of our time, that of climate change. With global temperatures hitting record highs and extreme weather events affecting people around the world, this year's UN Climate Change Conference, COP28, is seen as a pivotal opportunity to correct the course and accelerate action to tackle the climate crisis. The UN says COP28 is where the world will take stock of progress on the Paris Agreement, the landmark climate treaty concluded in 2015, and chart a course of action to dramatically reduce emissions and protect lives and livelihoods. At the Argyle International Airport yesterday, Prime Minister Gonzalez said there are some matters that are outstanding from previous conference of parties which will be addressed in Dubai.
Including the last one at Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, which was a very technical kind of meeting. At that meeting, the developing world, the island states including, made a breakthrough by securing an agreement for a fund for loss and damage. But it's a kind of oxymoron because it's a fund which is established without any fund in it. We are hoping that at this COP we will have funds in it. And then of course there's a large question for us in these islands, in island states. The mantra is 1.5 to stay alive. That is to say that the global temperature must not increase by 2050 above 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. And the last Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change indicated that we will be way ahead of that unless there are certain significant changes which take place between now and 2030, for instance. So that's an important matter there. We know that there are some countries, some governments and others enthusiastic about the issue of curbing man-made climate change, and there's always going to be a struggle. And then there's the money which had been promised in Stockholm, in Copenhagen, since 2009, that by 2020 we would see $100 billion, the developing world, $100 billion US to address climate change related matters, adaptation and mitigation. But we haven't seen one cent yet. And in fact, that money is really a drop in the bucket as to what is required, what is needed.
In terms of how the discussions in Dubai will affect SVG or Vincentians, Prime Minister Gonzalez said the extent of sea erosion, rising seas, the effects on marine life and frequency of storms are as a result of climate change, which is an existential threat to all.
There are some countries, including St. Vincent and Grenadines, the low-lying areas, would be flooded if we don't have a control on the emissions of greenhouse gases. It's a huge subject. And then, of course, there's the matter generally of climate financing. CARICOM has endorsed what we call the Bridgestone 2.0 initiative. There are countries trying to take their heart and soul out of the Bridgestone 2.0 initiative, but pandering still to it. So the complicated business. Sabota is going to be there because this is touching on matters of food security, and the FAO had asked him and a few others to go, Food and Agricultural Organization, and of course Carlos is the Minister for Sustainable Development, and with him and other such ministers a lot of negotiations will be going on, and a number of technical persons are going, but the leadership really December 1st, 2nd, 3rd, that's the segment that is.
Apart from the ministers who are attending and some other officials, who are the members of your contingent?
Well, today I'm leaving for London with the Permanent Secretary, Angie Jackson, because while I'm on the road I have to be doing work. So I'm doing work with a security officer and civil engineer Cecil Harris.
Other members of SVG's delegation to COP28 include Minister of Tourism Carlos James, political focal point on climate change, Minister of Agriculture Sabota Caesar, Director of the Sustainable Development Unit Janelle Miller Finley, Climate Change Advisor and NDC Partnership Facilitator Edmund Jackson, Counselor in the Permanent Mission of SVG of St. Vincent and the Grenadines Janelle Drayton, Chairperson on Climate Change on the Prime Ministerial Advisory Council on Youth, Nafisha Richardson, Foreign Service Advisor Officer AOSIS Fellow Ed Dunbar, FAO Liaison Dr. Phyllis Phillips, and Sherilyn Edward from the Ministry of Agriculture. And the Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture, Carlos James, will on Tuesday deliver the keynote presentation on sustainable tourism for small island developing states during the Climate Action Innovation Zone at COP28. Island Innovations is the official program partner for the Island of Hope's Island Stage, taking place between the 4th and 8th of December at the Madinat Jumeirah Conference Center in Dubai. Among the list of speakers slated for the Island Innovation events are Dr. Hygienist Jean Leon, President of the CDB, Patricia Scotland, KC, Secretary General of the Commonwealth, His Excellency Surangel S. Whips, Jr., President of the Republic of Palau, Sir Alok Sharma, Member of Parliament and COP26 President in the UK government, and Dr. Pepukaye Barduil, Director of the Bridgetown Initiative and Special Advisor on Climate Resilience in the Prime Minister's Office of Barbados. Minister James is expected to join SVG's COP28 delegation in Dubai following his presentation at the Bureau International d'Exposition Assembly in Paris, France. With the problem of gun-related crimes in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Assistant Commissioner of Police Trevor Buju Bailey, who is responsible for crime fighting, said a gun amnesty is one way in which they will be seeking to deal with the problem. A gun amnesty is a period of non-prosecution that allows people to surrender their unwanted or unregistered firearms without fear of legal repercussions. ACP Bailey was speaking on radio today on some of the measures the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force has in place to deal with crimes in the country, particularly gun-related crimes.
A law enforcement point of view, if we do a gun amnesty, and we are about to embark upon a gun amnesty, the details being worked out, excited. Now, I was saying, if I'm looking at it, if we run a gun amnesty, let's say for a period of 60 days, and there are 8 weapons thrown in, I will deem it as a success.
8 weapons off the street?
Off the street. 8 weapons off the street. A pistol can carry anywhere between 12 and 15 rounds. 8 fires, well, that amount of ammunition, you need to see the amount of lives that can be lost with those 8 guns. So I will deem it a success. Now, you may say, well, we having 47 murders in a year, 8 guns. Nah, that is nothing big. Because the impression to you, you may figure that there are hundreds of guns on the streets, and 8 out of 100 mathematically is not a pass mark. So that is the reason why I say it depends on who is looking at it and who is analyzing. But we want to put out that amnesty. We want persons to feel comfortable that, and I'm sure that the commissioner will, and I don't want to go in too much into it, he will lay out the details, but we want persons to hand over their illegal firearm, Christopher. We want persons that they can go, if they figure that Pastor Haynes is somebody who he or she has confidence in, they go to Pastor Haynes and say, Pastor Haynes, here is my illegal firearm. Pastor Haynes will contact the police. He doesn't have to come. We'll go and we'll...
ACP Bailey said he is hopeful that the proposed gun amnesty will help to take some of the illegal guns off the streets, noting that recently 4 firearms were handed over to the police by persons of questionable character.
I want to believe that they might have searched their conscience and examine their lifestyle and see that in the long run, badness don't really pay. You may portray a bad man image or imagery for a while, but sometimes what you portray comes back to you. And at some point you have to assess and say, well, you know, this is not the right path that I'm on. I need to from the path that which I'm on, because this could only lead to destruction. And I feel having assessed their current situation, their affiliation, they decided, well, hey, this is it for me. I've lost a lot of friends. I've seen people who have known, who have grown with, who have gone to school with, who have gone to the great beyond by means of the gun. And they just decided that, well, enough is enough.
In the 2009 Rehabilitation of Offenders Act makes provisions for persons convicted of certain offences and, based on their sentence, to be granted a clean police certificate of character, also known as a police criminal record. This was explained by Corporal of Police Raycon John on WFM's Cop Chat program.
Also, there are a period of a 7-year sentence that would issue 7 years past, that would grant the applicant a clean police certificate. Also, there are a period of 10 years past that could issue the applicant a clean police certificate. Also, the Act makes provision where, according to the sentence, you are not entitled to a clean police certificate.
A Sergeant of Police Elmore Alexander, who is attached to the Criminal Records Unit, said the 2009 Rehabilitation of Offenders Act stipulates that a person must wait 7 years to obtain a clean police certificate of character if they are found guilty of a crime and sentenced to 6 months in prison.
If you being convicted for a period of 6 months, but not surpassing 30 months, which is 3 years, you have to wait for a period of 10 years. And if that person is convicted for offense below 6 months, that's below 6 months, you can wait period you have to wait is 5 years before you could get a clean police record. There are certain offenses that you won't get a clean police record for. For instance, capital murder. You won't get a clean record for capital murder after that. Also,
theft,
manslaughter, which carries, because capital murder carry punishment by death or life, or you can get years. Manslaughter the same, it carries the maximum penalty of life in prison. So you won't be able to obtain a police record. There are also robbery. It depends on the time you get for the offense of robbery. Because if you get, let's say, beyond the 30 months, you are not entitled for a clean police record certificate after that period.
Okay.
You have also another indictable offense where it's aggravated burglary, where you might break into someone's home and assault a person therein. Maybe a female committed the offense of a sexual assault, and you sentence for a period beyond the 30 months. You would not be able to obtain a clean police record after that.
Noting the contents of the police certificate, Corporal John said that the offense would not be listed on the certificate. Rather, it would be the duration of the offense that will be displayed so that it would not be discriminatory to anyone.
If someone applied for a police certificate and they had gotten, let me see, they applied for the certificate today, which is the 30th of November 2023. And they were convicted, let me say last week, Monday. You will check the amount of days up on the person convicted date to today when they apply for the certificate.
Okay. And you put that on the record.
So the record would spell for the past 5 days, or you will see for the past 3 years and 3 months. If you employ SHA, and you send SHA for police certificate of character, and you see SHA bring back a record to you stating for the past 3 years, you know, he went to court already. So what you can do as the employer, you could ask SHA to apply for a printout of what you actually were convicted for, and he could come to the office and apply through the Commissioner of Police, and we at the Criminal Records Office would give it to him. I think that would show a little prejudice. Yeah, because if someone applies for a security job, you know, you're going to watch building, homes, you know, and if the employer, you know, see theft, then they may think, boy, he will come here to thief down the place, which in a case where it could be a simple theft. And the person, yes, even though he's not entitled to a clean police certificate, he probably rehab himself.
The chair of the Board of Directors of the National Parks, Rivers and Beaches Authority, Gideon Nash, is promising patrons a bigger and more beautiful 9 Nights of Lights event at the Botanical Gardens this year. Speaking at the media launch of the event earlier this week, Nash said the projected cost of the lights in 2022 was around $21,000, and that figure has more than doubled this year to about $48,000.
The Board of Directors unanimously approve a budget for lights only of over $48,000. This is with our limited resources at the authority. We consider this event, 9 Nights of Lights, as our signature piece, as Mr. Bowman said, in the gardens. It is impressive, and I tell you, it is attractive. As someone who lives on the leeward side of the country, we can boast of the Sandals project that is coming. I imagine those on the windward side, they say, Holiday Inn is our piece. But I mentioned those two hotels because I can imagine we and the tourism sector can push and advertise this activity of 9 Nights of Lights, where we can host a lot more persons coming in, and we will have the room stock to house them for over this period of 9 Nights of Lights.
Nash said it is impossible to foresee any of the activities for the 9 Nights of Lights event not being interesting enough to lure people or attracting them to the Botanical Gardens this year.
It is difficult for me to imagine any of these activities not being attractive enough to capture my attention or to bring me to Botanical Gardens. And I hope and wish the same goes for all those who are listening at this time and are present here with us, and that everyone will find it interesting enough to come out not only 1 or 2 nights, but hopefully at every night of 9 Nights of Lights 2023 at the Botanical Gardens. We are laying the foundation, and I'm pretty sure with the talent, the smartness, the education and experience of our young people, they are going to take this much further than we are today. And I want to say to all those who are pioneers, Mr. Charles from the 9 Mornings Committee, the persons at Culture, Mr. Bowman and his brothers in terms of Christmas songs, Shirley Kalisha, Tonique, Colin, of course, thank you very much. Colin, of course, and our team at the Gardens. It is very important that we continue to put the effort that we have put in, and we continue to do so in the future until our time has come, that we will leave the scene and exit for a new generation of young people to take this forward.
The 9 Nights of Lights at the Botanical Gardens will kick off on December 15th with the official launching event.